This month I was supposed to release my Game of the Year video on time and failed, but I did manage to release a video game, so let's talk about that instead. I've finally released my game on Steam. So far, it's sold 48 copies and had 8 returns, which are both better than I expected, to be honest. I kind of expected 0 sales, and if I even did get sales, I expected basically everyone to return the game. It's very short, and I just figured people would want to return it straight away. I was hoping maybe they wouldn't, just because it's cheap, so it's not like a big deal if they don't spend so much on it, but it's doing better than I expected, which is nice. My goal is to hit 100 sales for a couple of reasons. One, that's enough to actually hit the payout on Steam. They have a thing where you can only take money out after you hit a certain amount, and that's like the first cutoff. For 2, it's what I need to break even for releasing a game on Steam. Like I've already mentioned, it costs money to put a game out on Steam, and if I hit that, that'll basically reimburse me that cost. And for 3, it's enough to get a tattoo. So I usually get a tattoo or a piercing or something when something like big happens, and I'd like to get one for releasing my game on Steam. I've got this like weird thing where I don't say the game's name out loud. I don't know if I ever have, and I'm not sure why, but I just don't do it. There's a link to it in the description. You can find it there. But yeah, so I've had this idea like knocking around for a tattoo that I'd like, but I couldn't think how to get it exactly right, and I recently decided what I want it to be. I realise I'm being really vague about that, but it's because I don't want to describe it till I've done it, and after I get it, I'm just going to post a picture of it anyway, so people will see it then. One thing I wasn't expecting when I released the game was the sheer number of messages I'd get of like various forms. Like, my game is clearly not doing like spectacular numbers. I've told you it's less than 50 copies sold in over a week. But just the number of people asking for like keys for the game or trying to sell me reviews. And I've even had a message asking me if they can meet me at the Game Developers Conference. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going. Like, I'm going to stay in my house, thanks. So it's like, with the key thing, I get like really creepily similar emails from a lot of people who all say that they're streamers who want me to give them keys. And I really don't get it. When I say I don't get it, what I'm saying is that I'm almost entirely sure it's a scam. Because the game is $1. If you don't think that you're going to get $1 back from streaming it, one person donates to you while you stream that game, then clearly it's not worth it to you. I have bought almost every single game I've ever played on my channel or whatever. I've had some given as like actual gifts from like friends and stuff. And then there was one game, which is Lion Quest Infinity, where the developer sent me a curator key, which was very nice of them. I didn't end up liking the game, but it was very nice of them. But I have never messaged a developer and just be like, can you give me a copy of your game so I can play it on my channel, please? Because it just feels weird. Oh, this is going to sound really weird. So I've recorded this out of order. I want to make a reference to something I've already said, but you're not going to hear that until the next section of my podcast. I bring up a point in the podcast that I want to start making a new type of video, but it requires me to get games before they come out, and that's really difficult. So I can understand that. I understand wanting to play a game before it comes out, and like making content for it, and talking about it before the game comes out, and I can see how that's clearly beneficial for everyone. Now, I'm not saying that it wouldn't still be beneficial for people to play my game on their channel and stuff now, but what I am saying is the game's already out. It's also $1. The barrier for entry here is incredibly low. They're asking me for keys, and I'm like, well, even if we just ignore the price thing, I actually don't think it's a good game to stream. The game is way too fucking short, which you would know if you even bothered to just read my Steam description. Literally, like, the 4th sentence on my Steam description is, the game is really short. It doesn't make sense to stream the game. And, like, people have made videos of the old version of the game already. So, like, that works. I can see people making videos on it. But, like, streaming the game just doesn't work. You stream the game, play it for 5 minutes, and then the stream's over. Like, you're going to need to have more stuff for your stream planned than just that. And like I say, if you think you're not going to break even across the course of one stream, I don't know, I can't explain, because like I realise that I look at this in a weirdly specific way because I do both sides of it, where I have bought, like I said, just about every single game I've ever played on any of my channels. So I'm just like, yeah, it's totally normal. I want to play the game. I want to buy it and play it. If I got the game before it came out, that's beneficial to me and beneficial to them. But the idea of just like sending an email to someone after a game has already come out saying, can you give me a free copy of your game so I can make videos on it? I don't know, it just feels weird. Like, it's one thing if I'm offering it to you. Like, if I send you a message and going, oh, I think you'd be a great fit to make this video for me. That's one thing, but going out of your way to like ask people for it, the way I'm talking about it is your business is making the content and my business is making the game. You're saying that me giving you a free copy of my game is going to bring in money to me. And that may well be true. But you're also going to make money from doing it. And if you're not going to make enough money to buy a copy of my game, that tells me it's not worth it to you to make the video in the first place. And especially, like I say, when the game is $1, the barrier for entry there is very low. Which is also probably why I don't ask people to give me copies, because I don't make anything. So if anyone's going to ask, it would be me. And I wouldn't feel right asking. It's kind of how I feel about piracy as well. Like, I'm not saying they're equivalents, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I feel like developers deserve money for doing what they do. Like, I don't feel like that's a big ask. And as someone who makes videos and like LPs and all reviews and all sorts of that shit, I should be paid for what I do, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be paid for what you do. And you're right that it's a mutually beneficial relationship, but it feels not very favourable to the game developer. I think probably it works better at bigger numbers. If our stuff was already popular, it would probably work better. I don't know, maybe I'm just like totally reading this wrong, but it just doesn't feel right to me. It's not something I would do, so I'm not okay with other people doing it, essentially. There is like a couple who've messaged me and I've like maybe considered doing it, just because the people aren't English, and one of the things I'd like to do for an update to my game is like translating it, and there's only like 6 lines of dialogue in the entire game, so it's not like I'm asking you to redo everything. It's literally just 6 sentences. And I'd also feel less weird doing that. At that point, you have done work for me, so it makes sense that you would have a copy of the game. That just makes sense in my head, especially considering at the moment I can't really afford to pay anyone. So I'd just be asking people for help for free, basically. So like the only thing I can guarantee give people is a free copy of my game and put them in the credits. But yeah, so like that just feels weird to me. But then I also, like I say, I got messages offering to sell me reviews for my game. I got one message from a guy, and he was like, do you want to buy reviews for your game? And I was like, no. And he's like, but it'd be good if you did. And I was like, no thanks. And they just kept like sending me messages, arguing with me, trying to get me to buy reviews for my game off them. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't want that. They just don't. They got really like weird about it, started sending me like links to websites that would explain that it's important to get reviews for your game. And it's like, yeah, I'm not fucking stupid. I just don't want to buy them off you. It's just not right. I don't want to buy reviews for my game. I want people to review my game, yeah. But for one thing, I can't afford to pay you. For another, I wouldn't want to pay you. For a third, I don't want to pay you to lie about things. I want to make a game and for someone to like it and then leave a review. That's what I want. At the moment, I'm not getting that, but that doesn't mean I want to pay people to do it. It just feels weird, but like it just got me thinking, like, do you think that person gets a lot of sales by arguing with the people who turn him down all the time? It's such a weird way of thinking to me. And you say, do you want me to work for you? And you go, no, I don't. And then they go, but what if you said yes? And I was like, well, I've already said no. Does that work? I mentioned earlier that I want to do translations, and that is something that I would really want to do, because it's not a huge amount of work for like any party, but I think it would be beneficial for everyone. I don't know right now exactly what I mean in terms of translation. Text translation would be the easiest, but that would still keep the original audio, just of me. I recorded all of the audio myself, but I would like to have proper like voice acting in different languages. The issue with that is that I also want people with good audio quality, and I feel like the number of people who speak different languages with good enough audio quality who would be willing to do it for free probably doesn't overlap with anyone I actually know. So, I don't know. It's something I'd like to do. I think the translation thing I can do pretty easily. I do know a lot of people who speak different languages, and I'm pretty sure they'd be willing to translate a line or two of English for me into whatever their language is. I think they'd be alright doing that. So I might ask some people and then see about getting audio versions some other time. Maybe if the game sells a bit better after I get the base translation done, that'd be nice. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Other things I would like to do is, there's obviously bug fixes, and those will just come as soon as I fix stuff. Like, I'm not just going to like hold out on fixing things. They'll just happen when they happen. As for like new features and stuff, there's the translation and stuff that I've already talked about. And then I have a new microphone since I made the game, and it's a much nicer microphone. So I would like to redo all of the audio with this microphone, because the game will sound a lot better then. So I'm going to do that at some point. And then I also want to add achievements. The only thing I'm not sure about is what order I'm going to do these things in. Now, if I really just like put my mind to it, I could probably get them all done very quickly. But I also kind of want to pace it out a little bit, because from what I understand, it's better in terms of engagement if you have the updates at a consistent cycle. You tend to see like an increase in sales with each update. I feel like if I get all of it done in one go, I'm never going to touch it again though. Whereas if I do at least a little bit consistently, that'll get something done. So the first update, I already know when it's coming out, I just don't know what's in it yet. So the first update will be partway through next month. But other than that, I think that's pretty much everything for my game. Seems like every time I make a podcast, I talk about how my sentences are doing better and better, and this time it's true again. It's almost like as my main videos do worse, my sentences do better, which I don't know if it's a trade-off I'm happy with making, but it seems to be the one I've made. The views are still incredibly inconsistent, but they're all up. My lower performing videos are doing better than they used to, and my well performing videos are doing better than they used to as well, but there's still a massive gulf between the two. My well performing videos are now kind of consistently hitting over 1,000 views each, which is nice, but my badly performing videos are still only just about hitting 100. Some have still hit lower than that, but it's still better overall, and I've doubled in subscribers again, but I just don't really get why. I wish I had some idea what I was doing that was working. The only things I know so far is when I release a video on a Sunday, those do tend to do worse. Which is weird, because I always thought they'd do better because it's a Sunday, but I don't know. Apparently I'm just wrong on that. The weekday ones tend to do better. My only issue with that is that the weekday ones are both either a remake or a re-release, whereas the weekend ones are completely new ones. So I would want the weekend ones to do better. So unless I refactor how that works, it's just going to continue being like that. And the other thing is, the videos that seem to do best numbers-wise are the more controversial ones. I don't really like Celeste or Doom Eternal. I don't hate them. I like them enough to have finished them. I wouldn't review a game that I haven't finished, which some people seem confused by. But I gave quite low scores to both of them, just because I don't like them. People got very angry at that. But those also both did quite well, because people got angry at me, and it's I don't know if that's something I really want. I'm certainly not going to intentionally do that, but it seems to do okay. I've made a few little changes. I used to edit my videos so that I would say the score at the same time as the score came up on screen, and I don't do that anymore. I suppose actually I still could. I just have to cut the audio at that point. That might be worth doing. But what I've done instead is I've made it start at the same time every video. I had a theory that people were watching more of the ones where I talk longer. I don't know if that's exactly true. I've made the audio start earlier in every video since I had that idea. So I don't know if that's working, or if it's just coincided with my channel doing better anyway, or if they're both totally unrelated, but I might keep messing with it just a little bit. I'm not changing the entire format or anything. I just want to tweak little bits until I get to something I think works best. The other thing is I'm thinking of starting a new type of sentence, but I'm not totally sure yet. I'm thinking of doing preview ones as well for games that aren't out yet, but that would really be kind of dependent on me getting access to games that aren't out yet, which is something that happens incredibly rarely, and even rarer still is it a game that I get access to early that I'm actually allowed to talk about. I don't want to start making them and have them be really inconsistent. I would rather make them consistently, but if I'm going to make them consistently, it requires me to have access to a thing I don't currently have access to, so I've not really made my mind up about that. It's something I'm thinking about at least. It makes sense that I would do that. Other than that, as I mentioned at the start, I released my Game of the Year video for 2022, and it's doing just as well as the last main video did, which is to say it's doing fucking terribly. Now, this video came out later than it was supposed to, which means there hasn't been as big of a gap between that coming out and me recording this as there usually would have been. So, I know it's doing badly, but I also don't know that it's not going to pick up quite quickly soon. Maybe it will, that'd be nice. My Game of the Year videos tend to do pretty well, tend to do better than the other videos I make. For content that usually does better than the rest of the things I make, it's doing worse than everything. So, I just don't know. I don't know what to do, honestly. These are the videos that I end up spending the most time on. I used to spend a lot of time on the podcasts, and I changed the way that I record them recently, like I've spoken about, where I now record them in sections, and edit them in sections. I used to do one big recording and edit it, not all in one go, but slowly over time, and that has sped up the entire process. I'm getting through an edit way quicker. So I'm actually spending even less time on these now. So the video I'm spending the vast majority of my time on is my main channel video for each month, which is what you'd expect. But they're doing so much worse than anything else I make. The only thing that does worse is my podcast, but I just like making this. I like making my main channel videos, but they're so much work, and I get absolutely nothing back. When I say I get nothing back, I mean the growth and stuff that I'm seeing is on my sentences, which means I should focus more on those, obviously. But they require a lot of work, but of a different set. So what I mean is, they require a lot of work, but the work with those is actually just playing the game. So the reason that takes so long is just because of the way I play games. I'm not one of those people who can sit down and play one game for a long time, but what I can do is play a lot of games for a short time. So I actually play like 6 or 7 different games a day, but only for like half an hour each. I play the games I record for longer, so I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but Like a Dragon Ishin, I've started doing an LP of that, which is going to come out Tuesday. I record 1 hour of that a day, and then I'm playing through Fire Emblem Engage, which I really hoped to have finished by now, but it's just going on forever. I thought there were 21 chapters, and I'm on for chapter 21, and then it turns out there's actually more like 26, and it's just taking forever. But anyway, those games I tend to play for about an hour, also 14 because, I'm doing my dailies in that. But then there's my other games that I tend to play for like less than half an hour each. Most of this stuff is the stuff you see on stream anyway. So what I'm saying is that recording a sentence requires me to have finished a game. To finish a game, I obviously need to play the game. And that takes me time, not because the game itself is necessarily long, but mostly because of the way I play games. I can't stay focused on the thing for that long. It's not a matter of even getting bored. I'm just like, I will do a thing, and I'll get to a point, and I'm like, yeah, this is where I'll stop. And then I'll stop, and then I'll start again the next day. And because of that, it means that games take me a long time. Again, not because they're long. Neon White took me about 2 weeks. It's not that long of a game. It's just that I played a set amount each day. If I'd really got down to it, I could have finished it in like 3 days, probably. But that's just not how I play. And that's what makes the sentences actually take so long. Like the actual writing, recording, editing, putting them up and everything only takes like an hour in total, if that. But the actual playing the game is what takes the time there. So like if I was going to stop making my main channel videos, I would just make sentences, I think. It just feels weird doing that. But that might be something I end up doing eventually. But kind of the point I'm getting at is that stopping doing the main channel videos would only actually free up a couple of hours a day, once or twice a month. Like I tend to work on one of those for about a week per month and put in a couple of hours a day on it. So it would only actually free up maybe 20 hours a month, which is maybe enough for one game. Oh no, maybe it's worth doing. I don't know, I'll think about that over the coming weeks, I suppose. Other than that, I've already mentioned that I'm starting my Ishin LP, which you've probably guessed, it's pretty obvious. And that'll just continue on until it's finished. I've been told that the game is quite long, so I don't know how long it'll take, but we'll see. That does mean that Sunbreak is going to go back to just being on the weekends. I've been enjoying the game so far, but the performance is a bit weird. I've noticed a lot of hitching, and the menus feel incredibly unresponsive. Like, I'll press a button and it won't do anything, and I'll press it again and then it'll work. And that seems to happen very consistently. It's really annoying. I think other than that, everything else is just going to carry on as normal. Special thanks to all of my patrons. You can join them over at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, and for $1 a month you'll get to see what I'm working on early, and get exclusive roles in my Discord, along with other rewards I might think of. You can also just follow me there if you want to for free, as it's probably the best place to see all of my content as soon as it's available. There's links to the Patreon, along with my Discord, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, and all the other podcast platforms in the description for this episode. Finally, don't forget you can email me using podencastby@gmail.com if you've got anything you want to say. Thanks for sticking around. Bye. Special thanks to my patrons, Justin Wood, Hobbs, Koopy Vegeta, and Gunrunner. You can join my patrons at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, check out my TikTok and Twitter @Holden Gatsby, and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Holden Gatsby. Don't forget to subscribe to all of my channels. If you want more, you can watch my last video now, but if not, then thanks for sticking around. Bye.